let's get this shit started. All right. Oh, are we already? No, we're still firing up. There we go. Hey, oh, what do you know? This is not the Blitzkrieg Bop. It is building out. And my usual intro doesn't work with it, so fuck it. You know, this is building out. I'm going to build some shit. I'm glad you're here. I appreciate every single one of you. So do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. And fundamentally, I could sit here staring at this fucking thing all day and not get anything done. But that would not get us anywhere. I would end up toward the end of the day. I did this just yesterday, in fact. Day before yesterday, technically. But I did this just like 36 hours ago. I just sat there and went, oh man, I need to figure out a way to make a good video. Fuck it, make a bad video. Let's stick to the goals. We're going to be focused on the subject of the day's video, which today is design, development, and architecture. And we're going to get the video out by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which it's currently 7 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, yes, I'm having a beer at 7 o'clock in the morning. I've been up all night. This isn't morning for me. This is nighttime for me. I've been up for like 10, 12 hours. So anyway, I was looking stuff over, and kind of the thing that I'm thinking about. Actually, I need to fire something up here so I can draw a quick diagram and show you some shit. Anyway, what is going on over here? I have a notification. And the notification is, it's nothing. There's no notification. I think, oh, the notification is going away. It thought there was a notification, but there wasn't one. So it just told me there was one, and then I said, what's the notification? And it went, oh, sorry. My bad, there isn't a notification. Never mind. Never mind. All right, Emily. So anyway, I have been working a bit on the Sprite rework, and I've redone all of the idle frames. They don't look great because the Sprite isn't moving as much. So I'm gonna have to go in and improve them later on. But for the moment, they actually, you know, they work for what they are, and I'm happy with that. So anyway, let me fire up a new. I'll fire up a new document, and I'll wipe down my screen. You know, what I've been doing is I've been thinking about how exactly the architecture of this game is going to work, because I have built these menus, but the menus are not working yet. What? It's been a week. Why aren't they working? Because I was doing art shit, and I was like composing music, and I was doing all kinds of other shit. You know, I got other things that I do, you know, like playing a lot of Death Stranding lately. A friend of mine gifted me the director's cut for my birthday, and I just kind of sighed and shrugged my shoulders and said, I may as well play it. And it's a fairly infuriating game, but we don't need to talk about that. What I want to talk about instead is I've got this menu. So have I got the right? Okay, so I've got this menu. And it's up here. And here's what needs to happen. I've got this menu. And when I click a button, I have this one button that says play. And I have this vision of what happens when you press A. You press play, And it opens up this whole new screen. And that new screen has on it a selection of characters. And you pick your character. And then it has a selection of weapons that you've unlocked. And you pick a weapon. And it has a series of levels you've unlocked. And you pick a level. And then after you pick the level, then you've got this last button, and that's the go button. And you press the go button, and when you press the go button, that fires up the actual game. And the first thing that it does is it creates your character. And then it adds the weapon to that character. And then it takes that character and it plops them into the middle of the level. And after it does that, it runs the level, and the level is actually where everything is. So what this means is the character must exist in isolation from the level. The weapon already exists in isolation from the character. So what I want to do is I want to hit the play button. I want to open up this scene right here, and that scene needs to run the actual game scene. Now here's the problem, okay? If you go in and you actually look at the way everything is structured, the first problem is this. The timer is attached to the player, which means I have to do one of two things. And the two things that I could do are, number one, I could, when the level starts, put the time label onto the player. In other words, I could move the time label to another section, and when the player is put into the playfield, then I could move it from wherever it is to inside the player. So it has the appropriate parent. I don't like that solution. I don't think it's a good solution. So the alternative is I take the time label out of the player and I put it into a user interface. In other words, there's a user interface that sits on top of the level, and on that user interface you have like the timer, the panty counter, which actually we don't have a panty counter per se. We have the XP gauge because we're using the panties as experience points, and we probably want to have the special gauge. I'm still not 100% certain that I want a special gauge, but I don't know. I feel like maybe I should put something in that could be one, so I could do that later. Like, one of the things that I'm thinking that I do a circle, and inside the middle of that circle I have the time. Actually, let's not put the time in there. Let's not put the time in there. Let's go, we'll have a circle, and that circle will fill up. It will fill up around the outside until it gets to until it gets around the whole way. And when it gets around the whole way, then it will increment your level, which sits in the middle. So you're raising up this experience gauge, and then it raises your level, and then we can have, you know what? No, I don't like that. I'm now sitting here and I'm thinking circle and bar, except I would want circle and the bar hanging down along the side of the screen like this. Kind of like a musical note. But it occurs to me that in Ball Pit, that's how the user interface is laid out there. So I got to kind of stop and think, am I just doing that to be derivative? I don't think I am. But you have your level listed in here, and this is your XP gauge. That's exactly what they use it for in ball pit. So, I don't know. Maybe I want to do this differently, but that's also like good visual language. Maybe I could do it over on the right-hand side. Do it over on the right-hand side. Have that there, and then we'll have the level. I don't know, but I'm thinking I gotta have some kind of user interface. And we also need some kind of counter. You can collect gold, so we need like a gold piece counter. And we have the timer, and the timer needs to go somewhere. And I think it really, the way I think we probably ought to do it is have the timer right there, and then we have your various experience and stuff either here or over here. I'm actually kind of liking this little swingy up thingy. So here's what I'm thinking. We could put the level in here to start with, and if I decide to do a special gauge, the special gauge can fill up kind of in a radial fashion up along here, and I can have the power of the special gauge displayed in here. So like you fill it up and it goes to level 1, or maybe it just like stays full or whatnot. I have some ideas for how to implement the special gauge, but I'm not sure which, if any of them, I'm going to use. I don't even know for sure that I'm going to have a special gauge, as I've previously mentioned. So I don't know. If I decide to have a special gauge with a level in it, then I'll just move the overall level over here. And I mean, regardless, we need a gauge, and we need an XP gauge that sits somewhere on screen, and we need a timer that sits somewhere on screen. So we'll put the XP gauge like wherever, and we'll put the timer, wherever, and we'll put the gold piece counter wherever. And no matter how you slice it, that needs to be kind of a user interface layer that sits over top of everything. So I'm going to need to move, like I've got a game over label and a time label, and those need to be moved. And because I'm moving the time label out of the player, I've probably got something in here. See, I've got the screen timer is set to this reference to the timer label. And I also set the timer label to say, like, what is it? To say, you win, or victory, or something. You win a beer. Something like that. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. But currently I have that set as a reference in the playfield, and that's not bad. But this really needs to go somewhere that is kind of anchored to the viewport, and I don't know how to do that. So, it says label settings, horizontal alignment, vertical alignment, auto wrap, justification, paragraph separator, clip text, text overrun behavior, blah, 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 blah. Displayed text. I don't know. Layout. I think it would go somewhere in layout. Got to transform and contain this. I don't know. This node doesn't have a control parent. Use the appropriate layout properties depending on where you're going to put it. That's not fucking helpful. So I don't know how to do that. That's just like on the to-do list. I got to move the time label somewhere. Do I have a note to that effect? I need to make a note to that effect. Timer and XP UI. So that's a thing that needs to be done. Anyway, oh, I just wrote that in the wrong file. I've been writing notes in the wrong file all day. Let me move this to where it goes. Oh, I have notes related to this in the other document where they're supposed to be there. Instantiate weapon scene, instantiate player scene, problem, timer level attached to player. Add weapon to player, instantiate playfield scene, problem, game over label attached to playfield. Add player to playfield, instantiate UI overlay, add playfield to UI overlay, run the scene. Here's the notes that I've done in the appropriate file where they belong. But anyway, I have those notes. I have those notes. I have made those notes. This is an insanely long document, by the way. It is, I check, it is 2,580 lines of notes just for like shit I need to do in the game. And wow, we're 15 minutes in and I have accomplished exactly nothing. All I've done is talk about shit that I need to do. And it's worse. It gets worse because when it comes to instantiating the crossbow, okay, I come over here and I look at the crossbow code, okay, and it's getting nodes. It gets the item factory node out of the tree, and it gets the playfield node from the player. It gets both of these out of the game tree. It has to know the structure of the game tree to find those, and it has to know where in the resources the projectile scene is, and that's not okay. That's bad. So it's so the whole thing here is that the crossbow is actually designed that I attach it to the player, and having attached it to the player, it just sits there and works, and everything is fine. And if you recall, last time I talked about the player, I had a clear inventory function, and let me see here. Do I have I have a class view? I don't know how to look at the class view in Visual Studio Code. But anyway, if I come down here and I look, I've got this clear inventory. Now, clear inventory used to just go in and delete the inventory node, and that was very, very bad. So I stopped doing that, and what I do instead is I get the child count, and I say I'm emptying the inventory, and I remove the items one by one until they're all removed, and I free them, and then does that work without removing it from the tree? Do I have to remove it from the tree first? I don't think I need to. I think that's fine. But anyway, the idea there is to empty out all the child nodes of the inventory without actually removing the inventory itself, because maybe I want to fill the inventory with other stuff. But yeah. Anyway, I did fix that, if you recall me talking about it. And another thing that I fixed is, if you'll recall, I did all of the run sprites for the character, but I didn't do all of the walk sprites. I only did like the first 8 of them. I did like the first 8 walk sprites. I did the sprites for walking down, but I didn't do any of the other walking around sprites. And I didn't do the death sprites. I still haven't done the death sprites, which are down here. These are the death sprites, and I haven't done those. That'll take like 20 minutes. It's not a big deal. But if you come and you look in the code, you'll find that up here, we've got, the way that we set this is we have a player animation, okay? And this is very bad code. I really, this is not great, okay? Armed with the facing count, okay? And armed with the facing count of the sprite, okay? I determine the animation just by identifying, first of all, identifying the idle animation. If you start at all, the player animation 0, okay, it's the initial idle animation. So 0, 1, 2, and 3, which is your first 4 animations, those are the facings. Those are the 3 facings. There are 4 different facings. And then I do this thing to make sure that I keep you facing the right direction if you're dying. And then down here I go, hey, are we moving? Because if we're moving, then let's increment our animation by the facing count, which takes us to the next group of animations. We have idle, where you're not moving at all. Then we have walking, where you're moving. And then I say, hey, if the velocity is faster than the player running value, then we'll add another facing count animation to make it the running animation. And then you can add another one. You can add another facing count animation, or just go facing count times 3 to get to your death animations. So what I did was I took the run scale and I set it to 0. So if you're moving at all, you're running. So the character doesn't walk anymore. Who the fuck walks anyway? So yeah, so regardless, always running. This was the state of affairs if you're using KBM controls anyway. You could only ever walk if you had a controller hooked up and you were very carefully moving the stick just a little bit in one direction. So so I have got that fixed. I'm not 100% happy with the idle animations. Like you could see, the idle animations are kind of flickery and crap. You can see that we get some misbehavior in the texture when we're idling. Victory! That's what I had to say. And then we've got gold, and I account for picking up the gold, but I don't have any counter anywhere to talk about it, and I don't have an experience gauge to count how much experience you have. I don't have a level counter to figure out what level you are, and none of that stuff actually needs to be on the player character. And this label needs to be moved. It needs to be moved from where it is to it needs to be moved to like up in the corner somewhere, and we need someplace to put the gold counter. And yeah, I need to figure out a way to do that. But I do have, like, the sprites are changed out, and that looks pretty good. Well, the sprites are changed out for this character. They're not changed out for the gropers. The gropers are still the same as they were, but you can see that as I'm running around, it actually looks pretty good. You can actually see her hair's bouncing and flailing around, which is kind of neat. Down you go. But you can see from the idle animation here, the idle animation facing to the left doesn't look great. The idle animation facing up doesn't look great. It kind of, there's some flickeriness going on. I think it's just sloppy, and I just need to go in and fix those and make them look better. If I run it, looks fine. Running it looks fine. It doesn't change a whole lot. And even if it does, you're running. Your clothes are supposed to be like billowing around and whatnot. So so I need to do some work on the idle animations, and that's kind of important. But I've got to move that label out of the player, and I've got to move that player out of the play field, and I've got to figure out a way for an upper level thing. And I've already tested this. If I come into the shell here and I just go, okay, I'm gonna put the level user interface here. There we go, level UI scene. So I grab that and I just kind of drop it into the shell. And then I come up here and I go, okay, so I've got that, and now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take the playfield scene, and I'm going to drop that into the shell. And now I'm just going to run this. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to run the game, and hey presto, look, everything works. It still works. Nothing has gone wrong at all. Nothing is screwed up. Everything fits together. I still get all of the same results. Still get my same 19 experience. Still collect my same 200 gold. So everything works just fine. I just throw that into these preceding nodes, and it just works. And I'm very happy with that, because I find that with Godot all the time. I just go, well, if I throw that in there, then will it just work? Yes, it does. It does just work. So what I can do here is I can put my user interface stuff in the level UI area. And one of the things that I'm wondering is, what exactly is the extent of the level UI should be like level UI should be like in this vicinity here. And that should be where that fits, and this should be where that fits right there. Yeah. So if I now take if I now take the level UI and I add a child node that's timer display. Okay, so we're going to go with a label, and we're going to name that timer display, and we're going to take that. We're going to drag it in there. I'm going to go timer display right there. And if I do that, and now I fire this up, now do I get, no, I don't get, I do not get anything. It's still like nowhere. I still don't have. Let me pause this. I'll come over here to the remote and It's not playing the scene itself. Okay, so we actually haven't tested this and made sure that it actually works. If I come here and I just go, okay, can I play just this scene? Yeah, sure, okay. Let's play this scene. And indeed, the weapon doesn't work. And the timer isn't working. Okay, so where is my timer? Okay, yeah. So I've been playing the scenes wrong. That's yeah. I need to actually select up there and go play the scene. Yeah. So okay, that doesn't work properly, and because it doesn't work properly, I need to. It doesn't work properly with the timer display either. So timer display. Is what is going on with this? So, well, first things first. Let's come into our crossbow scene, and the immediate thing that I can do with the crossbow scene is the holder. We can make these public. Player, and we can make them export. Public pack scene projectile. Okay, and then we can dike those out, and now come back to Gato. We're gonna go from the play field. Is it the player that puts the crossbow in, or is it the scene? I think it may be the scene. Let me jump over here and take a look. Does the player instantiate the crossbow? No, it's the scene. It's playfield. And scene. Okay, so playfield.cs and grouper scene in the weapons scene. We're going to make this an export weapons scene. Export. I'm not happy with this. I don't like to do that sort of thing, but we got our ready, and down here toward the end we got our weapons scene. And we got our grouper scene. We'll save that, And we'll save that. We'll make sure both of those are saved. We'll do a build. Our crossbow was shitting itself. What the hell is going on? Okay. Okay, so here we have our play field. In our play field, we're going to go, the groper scene is, we're going to take the crossbow scene. We're going to put the crossbow over there, and we're going to put the groper over there. Okay. And the screen timer is still set to time label. Okay, there we go. Now I do need to think inside of the crossbow scene. Like inside of the crossbow scene, we can place projectile is the bullet scene. All right, and the playfield okay, so the playfield upon instantiating the weapon scene. Okay. The node 2D holder, and that's a player object player. Now, inside of the playfield scene, where we did this, inside of here, if the weapon does not equal null, then we're going to say weapon we have a public node 2D holder. Oh, it doesn't know that because it's just a node. Ooh, okay, okay. So, node weapon. So we're going to create the crossbow weapon equals weapon seed instantiate crossbow. Okay, so if the weapon does not equal null, then we're going to say, now we're going to say weapon holder equals, and that needs to be get node item factory. Get node GD item factory. Okay, so now I know that's there because this is the playfield. The playfield knows its own structure, and it is the item factory is right there. And we also want to set the player on this. We want to set the player to the Yeah. Player needs to be the player object, so we're going to go weapon player, use get node, and player equals player. We already have a reference to that. So that should ought to do it. That should make the crossbow work. Make sure that everything is saved. Come back over here, whack the build button. Everything cool? Looks like it's cool. I run. Looks like everything worked there. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so everything appears to be working. Now let me stop this. And then we will come over to the shell and we'll go, okay, play this scene. And we'll see if that works. And indeed it does. Yes. Still don't have the timer display working. Should I try to get the timer display working? Debugger isn't pumping a bunch of shit out at me, so okay, yeah. So should I try and get the timer display working, or should I just like take this win? Okay, so I've refactored that crossbow a bit, but the weapon scene is working fine. The groper scene is working fine. The screen timer is not working fine. Why isn't the screen timer working fine? Label screen timer equals null. Okay, public label screen timer. So what am I doing with screen timer? It has to be happening in process. Screen timer text. Okay. Okay, so let's try this again. Let's play this scene. See. We do this a bit. We'll pause. And we'll go, okay. Timer display. Where is it? It has no text. Okay, yeah, the debugger is empty. The debugger path is empty. That's fine. Okay, timer display. It's there. I go to remote. Open the level display and look at the text. No, the text is set, but where is it? Okay, let's stop this and we'll go, here's the timer display. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab the timer display. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to move it. I'm having trouble grabbing and moving this. I'm going to grab it like this. And I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to move it right over top of the existing label. And then we're going to take the shell and we're going to play this scene. And we still have nothing showing up. Okay, let me come into the level UI and the timer display. We'll put it back on. Put it back over here. And we're going to come down here to the, we're going to come up here to the level UI and we're going to go layout. Let me see. Canvas item, visibility, ordering, Z index. Put this as Z3. Okay, now let's see. This is not, I'm going to play this scene. And there we go. There is our label, but it's sitting static. It's not anchored to the viewport. Okay, that is going to be a little bit more. So that was just the Z index. It was underneath the, it was under the grass. Yeah, they say the grass is always greener on the other side. You ever turn grass over? Doesn't work, does it? Okay, but anyway, kind of the main thing I was getting at here is, and I wanted to sort of do an intro about this, but I forgot. Most of what you are doing as a developer is not just like doing stuff that you've already done before and you know how it works. I mean, there's more and more of that as your career progresses. But that's the fast and easy part of the job. Most of your time is going to be spent trying to figure out how to do shit where, first of all, you're not entirely sure what you're doing. Like, I need to get a user interface over top of this, and I've got a user interface over top of it, but the user interface needs to be anchored to the viewport, not to the underlying game world. So I'm not sure what to do about that. My immediate thought process, what I've been doing actually, is I put those things in the player. If you look in the player scene, okay, I've got my 2D camera in the player. Because the 2D camera is in the player, then the camera goes wherever the player goes. And that's kind of how that all fits together. The problem is that the interface isn't moving around that way, and I don't want to put the interface inside the player because the interface doesn't belong to the player. That's not the way I want to do stuff. But anyway, that's oh, you can't see my screen. I'm showing you something over here and you can't see my screen. I've got my camera inside of the player. Here's the player object, and here's the camera inside of the player. So because the camera is parented to the player, wherever the player goes, the camera goes to the same place. But the overwhelming majority of your time as a developer is going to be spent trying to figure out what the fuck you are doing. Once you know what you're doing, then you can turn your attention to how to do it. And when you turn your attention to how to do it, then you can get it done. And having done it before, you can do it faster next time. Once you know that's the thing you're doing, then you know how to do it. The overwhelming majority of stuff that I'm doing in this game is stuff that I don't even know what I'm doing yet. I don't know what the final architecture of this game is going to look like. I have a concept of a plan that's like the way that I think it should work, and that is to have a menu scene, and the menu scene runs a play scene, and the play scene just like lets you select your character, weapon, and level, and then it instantiates the appropriate level and switches over to it. So, I don't know for sure that's going to work. I'm only going to know that once it's implemented. Until you've actually built it, you don't know whether it's going to work. So, and also I don't know how to switch scenes in Godot. I haven't the slightest fucking clue. I mean, it's just like, you know, load scene or something. Like, I don't know. You can hide a scene, you can pull it from the tree or what have you. There's all kinds of stuff. I got to look into it. I got to figure out what am I doing. You got to know what you're doing before you start worrying about how to do it. I know how to instantiate a scene. I know how to play the scene. I don't know if that's what I need to be doing. And that's the frustrating thing about all of this is, you know, you need to kind of become inured to the Godot way of thinking. And I'm trying to do that exclusively by reference to my previous work as a corporate software developer, and not by going and looking at example projects, which a lot of people do. And that's kind of what gets you, that's part of what people call tutorial hell, I would speculate. Because if you look for somebody else to have done what you need to be doing, you can only do what other people have done. And you never do anything new or interesting. And I actually think I've done a pretty good job here of making the crossbow object more portable by changing the way that works. But I can pull holder and player from being export variables. In fact, I'm going to go do. I think that works a lot better. I think that's far nicer. I think we actually need a base weapon class here. I think we need a public partial class weapon, which is a node 2D, and then our partial class crossbow is a weapon, and the weapon would have the holder and player in it. Anyway, do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horseshit. This is almost an hour, and I don't know how useful it was or how interesting it was, but hey, it was what it was, so, okay, bye.